up tight and on the fringe of the rucks, and South Sydney no doubt looking to spread the ball out wide.
Alrighty, and of course we'll have Andrew Eddinghausen down there on the sideline throughout this match too. It's the under-23s. That's Graham Annesley, the referee for today. Bit of a surprise for that one, Bill?
Well, Graham's had a good year as referee, and I feel he's been rewarded with this match.
Okay. We're set to go now. This is the under-23 grand final. It's South Sydney up against St. George, two of the, well, the traditional teams of the Sydney Rugby League competition. Taking it away from the kick-off over there for St. George. Going up rather strongly is Gavin Allen, the second rower. He's had a pretty good season, Allen. He's particularly the last couple of weeks has started to really come of age. Took a while to settle into Sydney football. Coming down from Brisbane Valley team last year. That Blackburn is the dummy half. Trying to run it out now will be South Sydney. That's Stuart Raper taking it up. And the scrum to back down right on the St. George quarter line. The big Hosking played well last week for South Sydney when they defeated Parramatta in the preliminary final. Annesley talking to both packs there, particularly those front rows, what he requires in the scrum, and it goes. Rayburn is the halfback, takes it out, sends it across quickly, coming into the back line nicely, yes, moving it through there as Tuckle on that occasion. He's going to be put to the ground, getting up to play it. Dummy half this time is Henson, the 5'8". Henson waits for it. And South Sydney trying to find a way through, but can't. Going to be put to the ground, a little bit heavy in there in the early part. Henson up as dummy half again. And there's the big fellow Hosking trying to take it through, but he's met with plenty of defence over there from St. George, rather. Semrani, Colner, they were all there. Oh, is the intercept coming through nicely. Slipping his way through with Stuart Raper. Raper will get up to the quarter line before he's put down. Yeah, Raper read that play particularly well. South Sydney had the numbers out on their left-hand side of the field. They put on a play, tried to get the ball there, but Raper was able to nip it in the bud and come up with a very important possession for the Dragons. All right, taking up that time is Blackburn. They're about 15 metres short at that halfway mark now. And it's St. George on attack. Throwing it around, still going, moving away. Oh, straight over the shoulder this time of the centre over there in, or the winger rather, in Thomas. Thomas will eventually recover. Probably worth us mentioning at this early stage, Bill, that the centre of the Sydney cricket ground has been hosed down for their first grade game, and while these early fixtures are in place, it's still going to be very wet, and the players will find it difficult to keep their footing. All right, Peter Gentle, the halfback for St. George, puts the boot underneath it, carrying back there towards Scott Wilson. Wilson runs it up to the quarter line before he's picked up and put to the ground. This is the youngster we spoke about earlier. He'll be 17 in November, which is quite an achievement. Stepping out of the Sydney cricket ground, that's Webb. Webb just over the quarter line now. We'll get up and play it. South Sydney rucking it away at this stage. About 25 metres out from their own line. No points on the board in the under-23 grand final. Stepping around nicely this time was the little halfback there in Byrne. He put it downfield. Oh, it's going to be spilled back there by Darren South. Bad piece of action there for St. George. Andrew, how do you see things in the opening part of the match?
Well, the game started off pretty fast. I think both teams are really trying to make sure the ball is kept down the other end of the field. And just then we see St. George make a fumble and South come up with this important scrum feed.
All right, Gentle goes to the blind side. He's going to be put over. He's about 30 metres out from the St. George line, from the play of the ball. Trying to find a way through St. George. They can't do much there. That was O'Brien going to the ground with it. Getting up to play it now. Colner, second row, taking it up. Front row, rather. He's put to the ground, however. Now penalty. And he's going to march them up further. Annesley showing that he's not going to take much from any of the players here today. There's a little bit of back chat there from the St. George players, and Graham Annesley had no hesitation in advancing the penalty 15 metres, and that's turned from what was a reasonably difficult conversion into a set-up. Yes, Judd, the captain for South Sydney, said, OK, we'll jump in straight away and we'll take the shot at goal. So the first opportunity for point scoring in this match. We've been in the play for something like 9 minutes now in this under-23 grand final. Crowds certainly are building up here, Bill. When you get here early, of course, you sort of tend not to look up there in those stands, but by golly, in the last half hour or so, it has really filled up. Yes, even though a lot of pre-sold tickets, of course, determines your entry into the ground, I think a lot of people are getting here and jostling for positions and making sure they get a good vantage point. So it's Todd Curran lining up for the shot at goal to get the first points on the board. Curran moving slowly back onto his mark. Kicked a couple of goals in the preliminary final last week. Now lining it up. There's the kick. It is no good. Waved away. Waved away, so the score remains 0-0 here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. We'll take a break, be back shortly. Welcome back to the Sydney Cricket Ground, the under-23 grand final in action at the moment. St. George and Souths, as you see, it's 0-0 at the moment. While we've been away, Bill, we did see a nice break from St. George down near their own line.
Yeah, St. George showed that they were willing to move the ball even in their own quarter and play to some pace that they've got out on the flanks in the form of Thomas and Duckett. But still no team's been able to assert any real authority, Bill. It's been very much a nip-and-tuck game, and neither team really has applied any sustained pressure either. They've just either given away a simple penalty that they shouldn't have, or given away a possession that they shouldn't have. And I think the team that settles down the earliest in this game is the one that's going to post first points.
All right, so St. George getting a penalty out of that scrum, and Peter Gentle, the halfback, throws it across over there to the big front rower in Mark Blackburn, and Blackburn will kick for touch. He's about 25 metres out from his own line now. Very warm conditions, Bill. We were down on that ground a short time before the game started. These fellas are going to find out at 3 o'clock what it's like.
Well, I think warm's an understatement. Hot would be more like it.
It is one. Semrani from the dummy half down. Gentle getting it across to O'Brien. And then coming up very strongly there was Higgins. And another penalty now to St. George.
And this is the course that the game's followed. A penalty one way, a penalty the other. St. George have now got 2 penalties in a row. They'll find touch here, and they'll have the ball in South Sydney's quarter, and it should be their first opportunity really to put South Sydney under some extreme pressure.
All right, so once again it's Blackburn kicking for touch. Big fellow who's one of the vital cogs in their side. He's only 20 years of age. He's pretty big though. Weighs about 150 kilograms. He's been with a few clubs, Parramatta, Penrith and Oakdale, and the New South Wales and Australian schoolboys. So there's plenty of experience there with this bloke, even though he's only 20. So Semrani, the dummy half, St. George right on the quarter line now. Working away on the blind side. Coming through up there this time will be Gavin Allen. Interesting pairing of second rowers, Flanagan and Allen.
Yeah, he's both good players. Young Flanagan's going north next year, and Gavin Allen, of course, came from Queensland, and he's a talented player.
Slipping through the gap there nicely is O'Brien. O'Brien going for that line, but he's reaching out. He tried to get there, but no, referee Annesley coming in. Very close to the line. Getting up to play. It's Semrani from dummy half to Blackburn. They're moving it wide, reaching out for the line and getting it in for the try will be Stuart Raper. First try of the match. And St. George in front. They go to a lead of 4 points to 0. A little bit of a scuffle between the two teams. That's St. George coming away with it.
Well, this was a good try here. It was scored by Stuart Raper, and that's a name from the past. He just put himself into a hole here, broke through 2 tackles by St. George, had a bit of work to do. He had to reach out to get over the line, but he planted it down adjacent to the post for the 4-pointer.
It's a great try. It was great to see that Stuart Raper, I know Stuart quite well, and I know that he put in a lot of effort through the week, a lot of preparation. It was fantastic. St. George got a couple of penalties, and you know, Stuart went in just beside the post. It was fantastic.
Ooh, Bill. Interesting head-on shot, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, but we should point out that there are a couple of names from the past there. The initial break was made by young Sean O'Brien, who's the son of Dinny O'Brien, former St. George player, and the coup de grace was delivered by Stuart Raper, Johnny's son.
Right. And I guess that'll make Chook very happy. We were talking to him earlier today. Referee Annesley, by the way, has called out both captains here. After a little bit of a scuffle came out of that try. All right, arriving here at the ground of the Sydney Cricket Ground now is one of the coaches of the Canberra Raiders, and that's Don Ferner. Here he is.
Thank you, Billy. Don, I just noticed you've caught up with the Sunday reading. What are the tipsters saying?
Well, I think they all favour Manly somewhere, but I never thought there were so many bad tipsters.
Well, Don Ferner's a columnist. What does Don Ferner have to say?
He says Raiders are special.
All right, well, good luck today. I know the nerves are going to grab you. You've got a big day coming up. All the best from everybody.
Thanks very much, Graham. Thank you.
All right, there he is, Billy. Don Ferner, the coach of the Canberra Raiders.
All right, well, he sounds fairly confident at this stage. Let's hope he's as confident as that a little bit later. So the conversion attempt by Peter Gentle now. Stuart Raper getting St. George off to a nice start here. Here's the kick, no doubt about it, straight through the centre. So St. George open a lead of 6 points to 0 in the under-23 grand final.
The grand final in under-23 St. George.
We saw a South Sydney try coming up, and it all started with a St. George mistake. Have a look at it now. That's running across field was Duckett, and there you can see the ball roll loose, and bang, it came in nicely for Webb, and Webb was able to race away and score the try, which incidentally was converted there by Todd Curran, so that levels it up at 6 points all. Webb running around to make the task just a bit easier.
South Sydney needed to hit back quickly, and they did. It all came from a St. George mistake. We mentioned earlier they'd shown a willingness to move the ball in their own quarter, but here it didn't pay off. Brad Webb picked up the loose pass. He's arguably the fastest man on the field. No one was going to catch him from behind, and he went round to plant the ball behind the goalposts.
Alrighty, so 6-all the score after the try was converted there by Todd Carr in the second row. Well, Debbie Spillane's downstairs, and she's about to talk to... We'll hang on, we'll wait there because we could have a try going up there very strongly with Scott Wilson. He's pulled out about 10 metres out, getting up to play it now over there to Blackburn, or rather, coming up there, and he's going to be put to the ground. Yes, about to go down with it, St. George. Okay, they've lost the ball, so South Sydney with it. Debbie's down there. Margaret Ward, the wife of Englishman Kevin Ward, is with her now.
Thanks, Billy. Well, I guess some Canberra supporters feel they've had to do it tough, travelling a couple of hours to get to Sydney for the grand final today. Well, Margaret Ward, you've had to come all the way 12,000 miles just to see this one game. What kind of week has it been?
Exciting, yes. It's been a good week, though, with the weather, and everybody's made us welcome again, so we've soon settled in. We feel at home again, yeah.
Does it feel like football weather?
No, I'm usually freezing when it's football weather. I'm not used to this at all.
And after the game today, you're making a quick trip back?
We are, yes, unfortunately. We've got to go home tomorrow, I think. His club at home wants him back for Wednesday.
Well, it's a shame. There won't be much time for celebrating if there's a win.
No, but we'll manage, I think.
Thanks very much, Margaret, and back to the under-23s and the two Billies.
Thanks very much, Debbie Spillane. 6-all is the score here in the under-23 grand final. A penalty coming up to St. George from that scrum. Referee Annesley having no hesitation in awarding that penalty, and so here's a chance for St. George to go to the lead.
Yes, and it's a continuation of opportunities coming from mistakes. The first St. George try came from a mistake when South Sydney gave away 2 penalties, and then South Sydney's try came from a mistake by St. George dropping the ball in their own quarter. Now penalty here incurred by South Sydney in the scrum gives St. George another opportunity to launch an attack.
All right, that's Duckett taking it up and going to ground with it. Stuart Raper is the dummy half. He's the try scorer for St. George. They're swinging it around, coming up through. That's their big fellow Osborne. And he's lost it there. Double movement. I thought he was going to be pulled up short, but then he had another go at it, and referee Annesley awards the penalty coming up to South Sydney.
Let's have a look at this one on replay. There's been a lot of this in the last couple of weeks of players being penalised for trying to improve their position and come up with a try, and I'm pretty sure that Graham Annesley was right on that occasion. The St. George player was tackled short and had to force the ball forward.
Okay, so we'll have the tap to be taken now. Coming up onto the mark this time is Paul Judd. And Hosking, this big front rower for South Sydney. Dummy half Judd. The two captains are the hookers in this match here today. And at this stage, with 18 minutes to go in the first half, they locked together at 6 points all. Colner, met very heavily up there by Blackburn. And also into the tackle was Gavin Allen. Way to Judd again. Loses it in the tackle. It'll be a St. George ball. Diving on it is Blackburn.
Just got the feeling that Souths are looking a little bit flat. They're making errors with the ball. They're finding it hard to make headway against this good St. George defence. And St. George are trying things.
That's Higgins. Higgins on the go. Still going. He's going for the call. Is he in? He could be taken over to try. Yep, it is. He's in for the try. Be interesting head-on stuff. But in for the try, and that'll allow St. George to go to the lead here now. Have a look at it again. It was a nice run.
St. George have shown a willingness to move the ball wide. We can see here the break was made by the number 29, Darren Higgins. He had support on the inside, but he realised he didn't need it. He was able to pull out of the tackle and crash over adjacent to the corner post.
All right.
It was a great individual try. It was just, St. George have had a lot of the ball in this second quarter of the first half, and I'm sure that, all the pressures really caused South to miss out in defence.
So in for the try is Higgins. His fellow centre was also going through there with him, but not needed, or the winger rather, Duckett, but not needed. And it's in for the try for Higgins, and St. George hit the front again here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Not an easy kick coming up this occasion for Peter Gentle. Just over there on that touchline. And at this stage, we've 16.5 minutes remaining in the first half. Peter Gentle, so far in the season, 7 tries, 15 goals, 58 points in competition matches. Let's see if he can add another one. It's going to be a big one if he can. It's on its way, but it's waved away. So the score remains St. George leading South Sydney by 10 points to 6.
South Sydney 6.
Well, we're back here at the Sydney Cricket Ground just in time to see Osborne, the big front rower, crash over there for St. George, and that opens up a further gap for them now. They lead by 14 points to 6. And they took it up quite nicely, and here's Osborne on the go.
Yeah, set play here by St. George. Osborne's a big fellow, and he used his weight and strength to advantage here. He charged through the centre of the St. George ruck for a vital 4-pointer.
Yes, St. George have kept the pressure on South, and you can see here that, you know, it was a great try. Big Osborne straight over the line.
Certainly made use of the weight he has there. All right, at this stage, we'd like to welcome too our viewers through Coffs Harbour. Beautiful Coffs Harbour, nice part of the world to be, and probably just as warm as the Sydney Cricket Ground is today. The referee for the big game this afternoon is Mick Stone. He's just arrived at the ground. Let's hear his thoughts as he has a chat now with Graham Hughes.
Mick, a fairly hectic week for the referee?
Very hectic, Graham, yes. Lunches, dinners, breakfasts, it's all been go, go, go.
You haven't felt the nerves as yet?
No, not really. A bit tense this morning before I got out here, but as soon as I saw the green roofs, they all went, I'll be all right.
Everybody, I guess, would, or you especially, would rather people don't talk about the referee this afternoon.
Oh, certainly, yeah. It'd be very nice to run around and give about 2 or 3 penalties through the match and let the players do all the talking.
Have a good one.
Thanks very much, Graham.
All right, let's go back to the action.
All righty, back in time to see Peter Gentle convert that try by Osborne, the front rower. So St. George now lead by 16 points to 6. We'll take a break. Be back shortly. Sorry, mate. OK, so we're back here just about ready for the kick-off. And St. George looking the stronger now, Bill. It's a big task for South Sydney.
Yes, they are. South's doing it very tough at the moment, and they're having all sorts of problems trying to break the St. George defence. They've tried a couple of chip kicks and grubber kicks to break them up, but they haven't been successful. However, I think they've got to persist in doing that.
That's a little fullback Scott Wilson taking it up to be put down some 20 metres out from the St. George line. Running across field this time will be Maroon, or rather Flanagan, Blackburn. Big fella runs pretty solidly, Bill. Away from dummy half is the recent try scorer in Osborne. Big fellow and makes the most of everything he's got. While they're playing about out there, I look down on the sideline. David Fordham's down there with a test representative from another card. I notice he's on crutches too. Here's Dave.
Thanks, Bill. David Campese on crutches, but no doubt where your heart lies for the main game today, Dave.
Yes, Canberra. David, as you know, I used to live there, and I've had association with Don Fern for a couple of years, and Canberra to win.
What will it mean to the New South Wales League if Canberra can win today, do you think?
Oh, it'll be great for rugby league all round. It's good for a country team. As Manly's sort of one of the glamour clubs of Sydney, you've got the Canberra Rays, got Mal Meninga, Belcher, and not many other named players, and it's going to be great for rugby league.
OK, finally, how's the foot coming along?
Very slowly.
OK, well, you go and sit down and enjoy the grand final day here on 10.
Thanks, David.
10 minutes to go on the under-23s in the first half, and it's St. George with a lead of 16 points to 6. So the kick for touch there by Ray Byrne, the halfback for South Sydney. And now let's see what they can do on this occasion. A little bit of a set move coming up. Players lined across field. I don't know what the purpose of that one was, Bill. Here's Hosking taking it up now. But forced back on this occasion. Forced back quite strongly. Semrani underneath, and over the top was Blackburn. So away from the dummy half, trying to work their way through St. George, or South Sydney rather. That was Graham Lyons, the lock forward.
Very important stage of the game for South Sydney, this next 7 or 8 minutes just before half-time. I think South have got to post points if they're going to stay in the match.
It's Henson getting it outside. Going to be taken there by Tuckwell. Tuckwell sends it back inside. And once again, Henson there. Webb from dummy half. O'Day.
Looking a bit disorganised, South. Maybe Andrew Eddinghausen down on the sideline could enlighten us if there's a lack of talk or lack of enthusiasm in South at the moment.
Yeah, it seems to be very quiet down here. I think what's baffling South is St. George's great defence.
So that was Ray Byrne following up that kick, but he lost the ball, and then St. George also made a mess of things, and so we'll have a scrum about 20 metres out from the St. George line. Referee Annesley waiting for Semrani and also Judd, the two hookers, to arrive. And around to feed the scrum will be Peter Gentle. Gentle put over a couple of kicks so far for St. George.
He's a good little player, Gentle. In the last round of the Winfield Cup Premiership proper, he played first grade for St. George against Canterbury and marked Steve Mortimer that day in the game St. George won, so he's got plenty of future.
Taking it up that time was Thomas, the winger. He'll play it. Semrani from dummy half. Stuart Draper let it go very quickly. Coming into the back line this time is South. South put down. A couple of metres short of that halfway mark, and in plenty of mud over there too. Blackburn back to him. Dummies. Well wrapped up though. 10 metres inside South Sydney territory. Osborne again puts in the little kick. He won't be able to follow it. He was tackled at the time. It's going to be lost over there by Brent Ross. But regathered. Pretty looked as though he may have lost it there, but he came away with it. Pretty important that he did.
Yes, two St. George attackers against one South Sydney defender. It was a vital wrap-up for him.
So now South Sydney under pressure again. Down inside their own quarter. Hosking. Not making much headway, this big fellow. Is very, very strongly net by the defence. A little bit of trouble here. Stuart Draper on the touchline. He's going to leave the field, Stuart Draper.
So he's going to spend some time in the head bin.
He doesn't look too good at this stage, does he? So now running across field. This time is Duckett. Then straightens up, pulled down a couple of metres shorter than halfway. Andrew, a placement coming on for Stuart Draper.
David Parker. He's a new replacement for Stuart, who copped a pretty hard tackle.
Okay, now it's St. George on the attack again, sending it. Oh, it's going to be lost over there this time. Flanagan couldn't handle it. Big chance for them on that occasion. Hosking will end up with it, cleans it up for South Sydney.
All Flanagan had to do then was keep his eye on the ball, catch it, and he was going to stroll over underneath the post. There was no South Sydney defence within cooey of him. He came up with a fumble, and that's a vital let-off for South Sydney.
Alrighty, so now we see South Sydney back there rucking it out again after quite an escape for them. St. George with a lead of 16 points to 6. Lining up as dummy half this time is Ray Byrne. Takes it on this occasion, swings it back. The kick coming in this time from Henson. But dropping back there for St. George is South. South works up to just on the halfway mark. He's run into a bit of mud on a couple of occasions. I dare say that centre piece will dry out very, very shortly. Stepping back inside this time is Thomas. Semrani's dummy half. They've got the play on. It was touched by the opposition as they carry it through. St. George leading Souths at the moment, 16 to 6. With just 2 and 3/4 minutes to go. A little kick coming through by Lions, but the ball is going to be retrieved back there by St. George, but he's giving a penalty. Giving a penalty to St. George. To South Sydney, rather, against St. George.
There was a break here made by Lions, and I think the St. George players made the right decision. They came across and put him out of play, knew they were conceding 2 points, but it was giving away 2 to save 6. Darren South was the fullback that incurred the penalty, and referee Amnesty has put him into the sin bin for 5 minutes for the professional foul.
So that gets St. George in with it. Maybe a little bit better off. They could have been up for more points than that. So, yeah, Stuart Draper coming back onto the field. Grant Butterfield will leave. And South Sydney have made a change here in their team too. They've moved Webb in from the wing and put O'Day out there, obviously looking for a bit of a thrust there in the centres.
Well, what was happening, Bill, was St. George weren't having a lot of problems getting around them in the centres. They were using their pace to advantage, and Brad Webb, who's got plenty of speed, was moved from the wing into the centres to give South Sydney a bit more pace in both attack and defence.
So now let's see what Todd Curran can do. Should be able to get this one. Curran's kick at goal is successful. So it makes it 16 points to 8 with just about a minute and a half remaining in this under-23 first half final. So now coming back to halfway, and it still looks like St. George have got the wood on them at this stage. South Sydney just not doing enough.
I think South would have been much happier there to have come up with the 6 points so close to half-time, but they'll settle for 2. And if they can get their game in shape and just knock off some of the errors that they've been making, and they've been their own worst enemies, really. They've been dropping the ball and conceding penalties, and they've got some hope of getting back into the game.
So from the kick-off, ball will carry back there to Lyons. Up over the quarter line, still going.
It's good moving with the ball, this kid.
And he kept it going too. This is good. Here's South Sydney on the burst, up over the halfway mark. Can't get the pass away to Webb, who was literally flying outside of him there. But still a bit of a chance now for South Sydney. Can they throw it about and doing enough with it with just about 30 seconds? Oh, no, goes to ground. O'Day putting it down. So the scrum will be the last one of this first half. A few of the players out there will be quite happy to have a bit of a break, I'd say. Scrum packing down, a couple of metres inside St. George territory. St. George leading by 16 points to 8. Wanting to line it up this time is Peter Gentle. Andersley wants the ball in again. Now the penalty to St. George. Half-time hooter has sounded. Blackburn, this big front rower, taking the line kick again. Doing it pretty well. Comes up to about 30 metres out now from South Sydney line. Final piece of action in the first half of the under-23 grand final. Blackburn onto the mark. Decides to run himself, now puts a little kick. Going back there is O'Day. O'Day into the in-goal area, and that's it. It's half-time in the under-23s, and the half-time score sees St. George leading by 16 points to 8. 16 to 8 at the half-time break in the under-23s. Down there on the sideline, once again, here's Graham Hughes. George of 16 points to 8. Well, Bill, what would you think the coaches, particularly, say, South Sydney, because they trailed by 8 points and they haven't looked terribly flash for the first half?
Well, both coaches would have relished the opportunity to get to their charges. I think South Sydney coach Frank Curry would have liked to have eradicated some problems on the fringe of the ruck and out in the back line in defence, and no doubt Tommy Berry, the coach of St. George, wanted to talk about the slack last 5 minutes. They defended well for 30 minutes of that first half, and it looked to me as if they thought they had done enough and went to sleep for the last 5. And let's see how they start off this second half.
All right, this is Lyons again. He ran very well towards the over the last 10 minutes or so of that first half, and he takes the ball up to about 20 metres out now from the South Sydney line. Running over the two is Brett Ross. We haven't seen much of Ross, but he's a pretty slick sort of a customer. That's Hosking, who was well wrapped up in the first half, and it looks like they're going to start the second half exactly the same way. Just a reminder too, we have the $500 State Bank Man of the Match to be announced at the conclusion of this game. Nobody particularly shining out in that first half, Bill?
No, and just looking at this second half, South Sydney have started off the way they played in that first half. They just can't break the St. George defence. They're going to have to do more. The players are going to have to take the responsibility themselves to take the ball forward.
Okay, that's O'Brien in there as dummy half. About to play it now this time for St. George will be the centre and Richard Tuffy. St. George working up to close on the South Sydney quarter line. Crashing his way through this time once again is Gavin Allen. So now it's getting across through the gap almost. This time is O'Brien. They're still going O'Brien. Back inside, going to be taken over there by the halfback in Peter Gentle, and Gentle's in for the try, and that's a great start for St. George into the second half. Gives them a lead now of 20 points to 8.
South Sydney's defence just hasn't been good enough near the fringe of the ruck. Here we can see a very good combination between the half and the 5'8". It was young O'Brien that made the initial break on the fringe of the ruck. He stepped off the right foot, then off the left foot, broke through a tackle, drew the defence, passed the ball inside to the halfback Gentles. He was backing up like a good halfback should, and he scored a try that should seal the match.
Yes, they've got great halfbacks there. You saw Sean O'Brien go straight through the gap. He's a great player, and I'm sure he's got a big future ahead of him.
So there he is in for another St. George try, and that's their 4th in the match so far. And gives them a good lead of 20 points to 8 with a kick yet to come. Matter of fact, right in front of the post this time is Peter Gentle attempting to convert his own try. And from there, I would suggest, wouldn't have too much trouble. South Sydney in a huddle in the in-goal area, and I'm not surprised. Their captain, Paul Judd, has to rein them up and try and get them to come back.
Well, they couldn't have hoped for a worse start in the second half. They were the ones who needed to score first, and instead they've been scored against.
Converted there by Peter Gentle, so at this stage it's St. George leading South Sydney by 22 points to 8. And things hotting up here. The crowd really starting to pour into the Sydney cricket ground now as we moving into the second half of this under-23 match. Well, that's what's happening here, but of course in Canberra, the Canberra team had to leave us about 10:30 this morning to come down to Sydney. Let's have a look now and see what they were like. One of the horse trainers said yesterday, you don't have rules for champions. And it's right. Right now, we've got South Sydney in possession. And that's the fullback, Scott Wilson, there with it, or was with it. South Sydney attempting to ruck it out. They've really got to get into it now. That's Judd coming up as dummy half.
They just don't look like breaking the line, really, do they? The St. George defence has held strong, and Souths haven't come up with the answers.
Well, the man that made some of the breaks for them last week in Hosking has been totally wrapped up. There's been no chance for him to break the line at all. Matter of fact, he's been forced back on most occasions. Coming up there is Tuckwell. He'll be tackled just about on the halfway mark. Away from dummy half is Byrne. To Lyons, right over the cross, picked up over there nicely by Webb. Webb starting to set sail up over the quarter line, looking for support. No one at home.
Well, I'm glad they didn't score from that, because that was a forward pass.
Could you be a bit more definite there? Anyway, there was no support for them. They've lost the ball, or the change over there, so it's St. George into possession now. Semrani from dummy half, sent it back over there to Duckett coming in. Duckett put down about 12 metres short of the halfway mark. Semrani again, spins it around. Gavin Allen, they've lost it. South Sydney ball, diving on it up there will be O'Day. We notice now that Webb has gone back to the wing.
Yes, but South's problems aren't coming from really where Webb's playing. They're coming from a complete lack of organisation around the rucks. They can't find anyone to take the ball forward or anyone to point them in the right direction. And you know, we've got to look at their young halfback here, Ray Byrne. He's done an excellent job for them in the last few weeks, and I think he's just got to take the initiative here and move them around the park.
Well, there he is up as dummy half, sends it to Judd, then back the other way.
That's better play.
Yeah, they've varied a little bit and keep... Oh, now they've lost it. Ball rolls loose. It's going to be picked up over here by Darren Maroon, but the referee to play the knock on. And we'll have a scrum about 30 metres out from the St. George line. All right, the boys are here. Wayne Bennett and Don Ferner.
Good planes these days, aren't they?
Wayne Bennett's got a smile on his face. You don't see that very often. And Don Ferner reading the paper, so they're pretty much composed at this stage. That's O'Brien.
I can't see any answers here for South Sydney, and Andrew Eddinghausen down on the sideline. Can you see the Rabbitohs getting out of this one?
What was that, sorry?
Yes, Andrew, you weren't just on air at the moment, mate. Can you see South Sydney getting out of this one?
Oh, I think they're going to find it very tough. I think St. George just keep going forward, and not only that Souths are disorganised in attack, which they definitely are around the ruck. You hit it on the head there before. That's their major problem.
So there's Stuart Raper finding touch some 30 metres out from the South Sydney line, and so that's where we'll have the scrum to go down. Raper scoring the first try in this grand final of under-23s, but then did lose the ball, which allowed Webb to score that try for South Sydney to come back. Have a look at that. They're out there basking in the sunshine, getting ready for the big one this afternoon. And really building up that hill area here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Penalty to St. George.
Well, that's the third or fourth scrum penalty that South Sydney have incurred, and that's just added to their woes. It hasn't made their task any easier.
So Blackburn will kick the touch. We have 27.5 minutes remaining in this match, which hasn't risen to the heights we expected it to.
No, it's been a flat game in the sense that St. George have made the breaks. They're the ones that have just done enough, and South Sydney, I believe, just haven't got started. It's just been a game for them that they'd want to forget.
So now it's St. George putting on the pressure once again. They're only about 3 or 4 metres out from that South Sydney line.
Just keep our eye on the half and 5'8" again here, Gentle and O'Brien. I think they're the two men that can put something on for the Dragons.
They try to take it up. They've lost it. Semrani tried to pick it up as he regathered. No, he hasn't. It'll be a South Sydney ball, a couple of metres out from their own line. Well, if ever they needed possession, that was the time to get it. Maroon going to ground with it, throwing it about right on their own goal line.
Well, problem one was getting the ball back, but problem two might be an even bigger one, and that's to get the ball out of their own quarter.
Right, that's all right. St. George getting up there, solid defence. They've kept South Sydney under double wraps here. Now getting it away, coming through nicely. There was Lyons. Lyons still on the go. He sends to no one. The ball will roll into touch, will it? No, it's towed through. No, it's out. It's into touch over there. So we'll have a scrum. A little bit scrappy there. 35 or 30 metres out from the South Sydney line. St. George ball again.
Yeah, it's good push by St. George. They won that one against the head.
And now they're going to throw it around. Coming across on the wing over there this time will be Thomas. Up as dummy half as a fullback south. Back to south again.
Just looking from here, you can compare the organisation of the two teams. We've got the half and 5/8 from St. George talking and directing play, and they're trying to put St. George into the right positions to launch an attack from.
So now it's St. George. Now he's going to play the knock-on over there. So we're down on the quarter line again. Alrighty, well, two Queenslanders down here for the match today. Wally Lewis and Bob McCarthy, and Graham Hughes is out front with them now.
Wally, how do you see the big one?
Probably like everybody else in town, mate. I'd like to see Canberra win, of course. There's a lot of Queenslanders in the side, but realistically, I think Manly have got too many big guns, too many big game players to get themselves in trouble. I think they'll win by about 10 points.
Billy, I think we'll go back with the replays of this try, then catch up with the opinions of the great Bobby McCarthy.
Thanks very much, Graham. Yes, it's a try coming in for O'Brien, the 5/8 for St. George. We mentioned those two halves as a men.
Well, O'Brien's had a tremendous game. He can turn on a sixpence, can step off both feet. You can see here he used a great step off the right foot, did a spin, stood the defence up, and he even broke a tackle when he was in goal to come around and improve his position even further.
Yeah, that was a great individual try. I think the halves are really causing a lot of trouble for Souths, and you can see there, O'Brien just a great swivel, straight through, beats defender after defender and in beside the post. So another fantastic try.
All right, that allows St. George to sneak away with a lead of 26 points to 8, and we have the conversion yet to come. Sean O'Brien, he's played well today. While we're waiting to get the shot at goal, back now with Graham and Bob McCarthy this time.
Bobby, are you going to agree with Wally Lewis?
I think so, Graham. I think, well, the big betting boys have got him at, what, 2s on or 5-2 on. I think the weight of money says that they'll win. I agree with them. I think they've got too many match winners, too many proven big match players here today. I don't believe in fairy tales. I agree with Billy Anderson. I think that Canberra have done well to get here, but I think that the overall class of Manly will prevail. They've got too many, as I said, too many great players from Broken Plain. I think that'll be the deciding factor.
All right, well, there it is from two of the greats, Billy.
Thanks very much, Graham. We're back here as the play comes back to the halfway mark, ready for the kick-off, and St. George leading at the moment by 28 points to 8. Righto, while you've been away, St. George continue to put the pressure on South Sydney, getting up to play the ball a couple of metres out is Darren South. Let's see what they do. They swing it wide, let it right over the top. This will be a try, yes, over in the corner, no doubt about it. They're just too good at the moment. St. George. Only a matter of spinning it wide there, Bill, and it was all over.
Everything St. George touches is turning to goal. They had 2 men extra here, but it was a good option here. The pass being thrown over the top to Thomas. He had no one to beat and crossed in the corner.
Yeah, the Dragons, they're the ones this year for the under-23's premiership. They've had a great year, and I'm sure another try here, you can see, just so easy.
Well, they put all the pressure on prior to that, leading up to it, and Steve Thomas eventually finishing off as they threw the ball wide and was able to go into the corner. So St. George dominating now in this under-23 grand final, a lead of 32 points to 8. And the kick yet to come, although for young Peter Gentle, it'll be a big effort to put it over from there. Don't forget, we have our man of the match, $500 for the State Bank. Canberra team are just arriving here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. There's Mal Meninga right in the centre of things. I noticed Wally Lewis skirting by. I'm sure he wants to say best wishes to those Queenslanders. He's moving across to grab Mal Meninga, I'd say, at this stage. They look pretty cool, pretty calm. But it's really starting to build up at the Sydney Cricket Ground just the same. Kick is going to fail. So St. George leads South Sydney by 32 points to 8. Well, St. George... there's some more of the Canberra players arriving. St. George, as we said, Bill, this is only their second game in a month, but it hasn't affected them one bit.
No, if anything, they've benefited from the break. They look fresh, they look keen, they're very enthusiastic, and I believe, Bill, that in a grand final, you can play the last 10 or 15 minutes of the game on adrenaline anyhow, you know, with the crowd cheering and the reward at the end. You'll be pumping, and I don't think that this is going to be a problem in any of the grades today.
All right, this is Osborne up as dummy half. Sending it back inside. They're trying to find a way through as Gentle. About to play it. Dummy half is Flanagan. Spinning it wide this time. Coming into the back line is South. He's wrapped up, though. 19 minutes remaining in this under-23 grand final. Raper Swinging it wide again. Going to ground with it over there will be Tuffy. Kick coming in from Blackburn. Coming around is forward, bounced away from Wilson. Going to be scooped up nicely this time by Higgins. Pass rolls loose and South Sydney ball.
That would have been just too good to be true, wouldn't it? Every bounce has gone St. George's way, and they almost came up with another try from an awkward bounce.
So South Sydney under pressure still, down on their own quarter line. Coming back over there to Colner. Well wrapped up. Judd is dummy half. Gets it back then to Byrne. Byrne very savagely knocked over. Stuart Raper leading the tackling. Up there also was Gentle. Here's a go now. They're starting to move it nicely. This is O'Day. O'Day looking for support. Sends it back inside to Webb. Webb weaves the other way. Gets his pass away then to Henson. Henson will be pulled over right on the quarter line. First bit of attack we've seen from South Sydney.
We have a call, please, for Mr. Gary Reynolds. Mr. Gary Reynolds, you go to the Bronco turnstiles, please.
So now we have the changeover, and it's St. George ball. South. A couple of reserves warming up here for South Sydney. They won't have to warm up too much. That's Duckett. Duckett just about on the quarter line and right at centre field. So away from dummy half is Gentle again. They've lost it. Going to be picked up here by South Sydney, and going for the line was the second rower in Maroon. Maroon will be put down. Can they come back here? Colner coming up as dummy half. Colner swings it. Out over to now Webb into it. Webb sends it back inside. Going to be intercepted though by O'Brien again. There's the pass by Blackburn. It's a Lucy. A little bit lucky to retain possession there, St. George, but they've got it. About to play it will be Flanagan.
St. George aren't playing with a lot of discipline at the moment. They're moving the ball around willy-nilly, but things are coming off for them, and it just appears everything they touch is going to be a break.
South couldn't handle it. The ball rolls loose. Dived on over there by South Sydney. Referee to play the knock on. Well, I suppose at this stage with a score of 32-8, you might as well give it a bit of a fly.
I think the coach would be much happier for them just to tie it up.
Well, 16.5 minutes remaining. Quite a few changes coming in the South Sydney lineup. Andrew, have you had a chance to catch those for us?
Yeah, it's number 48, Sean Stockham, and...
Well, that's one of them. We'll pick the other one up in play, but
yeah,
Stockham is on.
52.
And Rod Peace, number 52, is also on for South Sydney. Steve Lieberman is just arriving here at the ground. Steve, very interested in rugby league, of course, interested in the game today. Here he is with Debbie Spillane.
Steve, Eyewitness News fans would know that you're an East supporter, so where have you directed your allegiances to today?
To Canberra, Deb.
Well, you've got to sit next to Rex all week if they win.
Yes, but gee, it's going to be fun on Monday night if they win.
You think you'll enjoy rubbing it in?
I will rub it in and squeeze every ounce out of it that I can.
You think you'll be a good loser?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I'm going to make the most of it on Monday. Usually he finishes with the upper hand, but not this time if the Raiders win.
Well, good luck. I hope the result goes your way because you're probably in trouble now if it doesn't.
I probably am. Thanks, Debbie. Nice talking to you.
Okay, that's Steve Lieberman here. Plenty of changes coming up at the match here now. I notice for South Sydney we have Henson and Burner off. Stockham and Peace coming on. Now a couple of changes in the South Sydney lineup. I think, Andrew, that's Stuart Raper coming off.
Yeah, Steve Funnell's on. And he'll make a difference. He's a great player, and I'm sure he'll settle it down a bit. They don't need to do anything fancy at the moment.
Peter Hall is on. Steve Funnell is on. Players leaving the field are Stuart Raper and also Paul Osborne, the front rower. Oh, that's where he's gone. Osborne's gone to the sin bin. So quite a few changes here. The other player to leave was St. George. It's like Darren South going through there. So now let's get back to the play just inside the St. George quarter line. Trying to sneak away on that occasion was Scott Wilson. Here's the big front rower in Hosking. Ball spilling loose, dived on by St. George, but once again a knock on to be played. Well, there's 14 minutes remaining in this, the grand final of the under-23s. Graham Hughes getting all sorts of personalities as they arrive at the ground, at the Sydney Cricket Ground today. And who would be looking forward to the final more than the Manly secretary and Doug Daly? Here he is.
Well, a busy time for all the people that head the clubs, and of course Doug Daly, the secretary of Manly. Doug, has the nerves got to you?
Not as yet, Graham. No, we've done all we can. Boys are well prepared, and there's not much more I can do.
Well, you're happy with the preparation, but what about all this heat?
Yes, it is a bit disturbing. Nevertheless, Graham, both sides have got to contend with the heat, and I feel our players are in tip-top condition, and they'll handle it okay.
More confident than that disappointing defeat in 1983?
Oh, yes, much more confident. I think we've got a very professional outfit at the moment. Bob's trained them very well, Graham, and I'm extremely confident about today's result.
It's been a great year, the minor premiership. Good luck to you today.
Thanks very much, Graham.
All right, we're back here with St. George in possession and running it out. Trying to do a little bit up there this time was Peter Hall. Sam Rowning is the dummy half. St. George lead at this stage by 32 points to 8. And they're moving up to the quarter line. The man with the ball there is Steve Thomas. Thomas scored the last try here for St. George. Peter Hall again. These fresh blokes will stand out a bit here, Bill, I'd say.
Yes, well, if the game was tighter, of course, the judicious use of replacements could very well determine the outcome of the game, but it's been all one-way traffic, and no matter what Souths do, I think they could run on 8 replacements, and it's just not going to get them out of trouble. It hasn't been their day. It should have been a tight game, but St. George were on their game and Souths were off theirs, and unfortunately, that's the way grand finals can sometimes go.
So now we're waiting for the scrum to pack down, 30 metres out from the St. George line. Scrum screwing around again. So it'll be fed by Peter Gentle. Ooh, ball lost over here. Going to be regathered though by South Sydney. Up as dummy half there will be Scott Wilson. Sends it away this time. That's the replacement player Michael Mills. Dummy half is Webb. Webb away from one tackle, can't get away from the next now. They're moving up to about 10 metres out now. Juddy's dummy half. Over there to the big Hosking, the front rower. He loses it though in the tackle, but it'll be retained by South Sydney. So Michael Mills up as dummy half. Mills sending it across this time to Stockham, then they move it wide, but losing ground on that occasion.
So it would be true to say that even though St. George have scored a huge number of points for a grand final, it's been their defence that's won them this match.
So now let's see South Sydney losing the ball as they went up to it from the bomb. And it'll be St. George to take it away. That's Hall taking it up. One of the replacement players, quite a few coming on in the last couple of minutes here in this under-23s. 11 minutes remaining in the match. Sam Rowning is dummy half. Blackburn. Players starting to feel the pinch a little bit here. Not surprising. Hall. Up over quarter way out of the tackle. Still going. Looking for support. He's got some too. Sends it back inside. But the referee ruling the forward pass. And at the moment it's St. George well in control of the under-23 grand final by 32 points to 8. From the field now after 5 minutes in the sin bin for St. George. And outside of that, not a great deal happening here.
Well, I think Souths have come to realise they can't win the game, and St. George have realised they have won the game, and it's just a war of attrition now waiting for the bell to sound.
Yeah, a little bit of a standoff all the way around. St. George leading by 32 points to 8. 8 minutes remaining in this match. Stepping his way through, coming through quite nicely this time is Brett Ross. Ross will be pulled out about 10 metres out from the line now. About to play it away from dummy half is Stockham. Stockham looks for support, finds Ross back there, then away this time to Lyons. Lyons going for the line, he's over. In for the try, so South Sydney come back with a try a little bit too late for them. But they're there, and that's something.
If there's one player on the South Sydney side that can hold his head up, it's young Lyons, the lock forward. This is a well-deserved try. He had a lot of work to do. The ball was popped up to him here in the tackle. It went on another pass, but he had to step off the right foot, beat one tackle. There was still St. George defence in front of him. He pulled through another tackle to go over for the 4 points.
Yes, Brett Ross set up the try. A great break midway through the halfway. It was just a great try. You could see there to lock forward over for a try. The first of in the second half for South.
Yes, good piece of work coming up there from Lyons. He can step pretty well. Let's see whether Curran can convert the try. That makes it 32-12 now. The State Bank man of the match will collect $500 here this afternoon. Try it has been converted. Makes it just on 32 points to 14. David Fordham will be joining. Here at the Sydney Cricket Ground in the final minutes of the under-23s. Let's welcome our viewers to NBN3 in Newcastle. Nice to have you with us today. We see St. George at the moment running away with this under-23 grand final by the tune of 32 points to 14. Only 3.5 minutes remaining. South Sydney, though, Bill, they've scored that try not so long ago. They're still running on. Well, some of them are still running on, is it?
Well, full credit to them. They've kept trying South Sydney in a game that 5 minutes into the second half they were never going to win when St. George posted first points in the second half. But they've hung in there as you would expect in a grand final, but it hasn't been their day.
OK, so that's Peter Gentle with the ball there for St. George. There's Big Hosking pushing and shoving and giving away a penalty. The big fella's feeling the heat, I think, Bill. Don't say I blame him, no.
Yes, he's not really built. He's built for comfort, isn't he? He's not really built for this sort of weather.
Kicker's going to find touch just on the quarter line. So now it's St. George. About 30 metres out from their own line. Out to play it. Back inside that time, Peter Gentle. Gentle and O'Brien have been probably the key to this St. George win. They've certainly kept South Sydney on the hop most of the way, particularly in the first half when the points were needed. Osborne sending it away. Dockett. So we'll have the scrum to pack down. 10 metres inside St. George territory. 2 minutes remaining in the under-23 grand final. David Fordham will be along with the reserve grade match. And then, of course, Rex Mossop with the big one this afternoon. And the crowd continuing to pour into the Sydney Cricket Ground. Gentle. Turns it back inside. Taking it up there this time will be Hall. Away from dummy half, working across field is Flanagan. Flanagan put to ground a couple of metres inside South Sydney territory. Samrani held up, it got it away to Blackburn. Blackburn looking for support, found it, getting across to Gentle. O'Brien still keeping it going now. Flying through over there to take it will be Doolan. From the play the ball, it's Gentle again. Osborne. Lucky to end up with it, but now the referee is going to pack down the scrum. 1 minute remaining in the under-23 grand final. St. George with a lead of 32-14. Wrapped it up at the try only a couple of minutes into the second half. And since then they've never looked like losing it. That's Brett Ross who's moved into the halfback posse. He'll be well and truly wrapped up though in the tackle over there of O'Brien. So stepping it out this time will be Michael Mills. From the play, working the blind side, that's Colner. Tackle coming across from Kevin Duckett. Judd back inside then to Hosking. Hosking lifted up and dumped unceremoniously into the turf of the Sydney Cricket Ground, but a penalty coming to South Sydney out of that one. Referee Andersley telling Osborne to get right out of there. So they'll take the tap. Running away with it over there is Ross. There it is. It's full time. And the full-time score in the under-23 grand final. It's St. George defeating South Sydney by 32 points to 14. St. George defeats South Sydney 32 to 14 as the play hasn't gone dead as yet. A penalty coming up to South Sydney. Well, the crowd a little bit restless. I want to get this one off, Bill, and get on with the next one.
Yes, 2 penalties after the whistle to South Sydney and St. George. I think they're waiting for the referee's whistle to go. They know they've won the game, and there it is now. Graham Annesley blows full times. St. George players embrace, having got away with this one to the tune of 32 points to 14. All
righty. Good performance here by St. George. Never looked to have it much in doubt, and they wrapped it up in that try early in the second half and have been able to come away and win it by 32-14. We might cross down to the touch sideline now. Graham Hughes there with our man of the match for the State Bank.